Our 400 square foot model we're building here at the Bluebell Railway has so far played host to a murder, a mysterious death, a suspicious subterranean government complex and an international smuggling operation. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Farmerton. I'd like you to cast your minds back, if you will. Do you remember a lady called Venice Atora? We last saw her canoodling on the riverbank with our dodgy local MP, Mr. Anthony Schooner. Well, Venice has now been promoted to the dizzy heights of acting head of the planning committee following the untimely death of her boss, Mr. Brian Bennett. Well, Venice is not all she seems to be. Far from being the sparkling Oxford graduate of Swiss extraction, she is in fact one Elsie Windows of Hackney Wick. Daughter of a fairground worker she has not seen for 14 years. But tonight she will be reunited with that erstwhile father because he is here in Farmerton as manager of a travelling fair. This is one of his roundabouts here, look at that. Here we are, it's actually not his roundabout, it's a kit. But what we think is going to happen when we finish this off is that this will spin round merrily like this and it will light up. Now, it's not a hard kit to put together, I have to say. There's a little motor which lives under there. You can just see the wires coming out. But it's actually not a very complicated kit because there's actually not that many parts in it. You've got the base, the second bit here where the motor lives, this section here all came as one moulded section, and then the roof bit in there. These are a little bit fiddly, but all in all, it wasn't a very difficult kit and it'd be quite a fun thing to have. Now, some kits can be easy and some things can be a complete and utter mare. Enter stage left, big wheel. Now this thing hasn't been a joy to make. Two reasons really, well actually three. First reason is, being blokes, first thing to do, open the box, don't need the instructions, put them somewhere else. Of course we lost those, so we don't have the instructions to make it. The second reason is, you need a separate kit to light up all the gondolas, which we didn't know about. So all the blokes who are usually working here are off scouring the Sussex countryside looking for such a kit. The third reason it's so difficult is because it is really fiddly thing to make. The stage I'm at the moment is actually fitting the gondolas in. This is one of the gondola chappies here. Look at that. Now, you have to glue these together for a start, and that's quite fiddly because you've even got gates on them. You see the little gates there where the people come in and out. And then you've got to fit these chaps, these tiny little silver bits. They're the actual electrical pickups and the pivot points as well. Now, you see what I mean about being fiddly? You've got to poke these in the side. Very tricky. Now, once you've got them in there and you've got that chap assembled, you then have to put it in here. And the trick is to be able to squeeze it in here, poke it in that hole there. There you go. And then try and, without the legs falling off there, and pop them in there. There you go. Ease in. Now my legs are off. Hey! Right, legs back on. You see, it's round the wrong way. It's not an easy thing to make this. Here we go. Let's just pop that on there. Legs off. Well, this is what it's been like all the way along, and it has been very fiddly. And the reason I can't glue it all together is because I'm waiting for wires that come up the outside and do all the lights, so I can't really do that. But what I can show you is how it actually works, because underneath the little ticket office here, if I lift it off, is where a little AC motor lives. And can you see the little wheel on the end there? It's actually got a rubber tread on it. And what happens is that this chappy here, the edge of our wheel, just rests on top of it, and then the motor spins, and then so does our happy wheel. But it's actually a little bit more complicated than that, because power for the lights is transmitted up these supports to this brass bearing here, and then it goes to all these gondolas around here via a web-like arrangement of wires. And each one of these gondolas has an LED light in it, which is picking up on these contacts here. So, next time you see me, this will either be a great modelling triumph or it will be in the bin in 20 billion pieces. I've come to see Robin and Jack from the Keighley Model Railway Club to have a good old snout around their fabulous layout called Ravensbeck. So let's start by, what gauge is it and what era are we modelling?
The gauge is O gauge, one of the largest scenic scales available in this country, and it's to a scale of 7mm to the foot.
And what era? What are we looking
This
at?
is the North Eastern Railway Company, which ran up to 1923 when it became the LNER, the London and North Eastern Railway.
So, year? What about...
We run the layout around 1910, a little before the First World War as a normal.
Edwardian.
Yeah, but you will see an odd item up to 1920.
So what about the station? Tell me about the station.
The
'cause that
station is based
fantastic.
on the station at Nunthorpe in Cleveland, and unfortunately it's the wrong way around. Because it was built in the northeast, and I sent it down here, and when I came, it was set into the layout the wrong way around.
It's been there 25 years now.
And it's not going to change, is
It's
it?
going to change now.
This is quite a special bit of kit, isn't it?
The footbridge is a typical northeastern cast iron footbridge, and it's made out of plasticard and wood.
These people, great, 'cause they're all in Edwardian costume.
Yeah, we have a member, Brian McDonald, who lives in Toronto in Canada, and he flies in, and obviously modelling wise he can't bring too large an item on the aircraft, so he paints most of our figures over in Canada there and brings them over to stick on the layout. Because we're in the middle of a countryside here, we wanted some more industrial landscape, so we've put a woolen mill based on the mill that these club rooms are in, a small engineering works. And of course, in those days, small industrial complexes generated their own gas, mainly for lighting. So we have a small gasworks here, the chimney there of the retort house, the condenser for the gas, filter assemblies for the gas, and of course the traditional gasometer in which to store the gas. Most people will be used to seeing a huge
Great big one,
gasometer,
right? Yeah.
as we have at King's Cross.
Yeah.
But in sort of Edwardian times, being a local gas generation station, they'd only use a small gasometer, 20 to 25 feet across.
Their own private little generator.
Yes, it is. Yes.
And then moving on here, we've got this. This is the turntable.
That's the wagon turntable there, and that's one we added again just for interest for the general public.
And then what else have we got here? Because there's another crafty bit of engineering going on here.
That gains access with the wagons to an engineering works, and actually there's something just arriving now by rail. I think they've got a new lathe being delivered.
It's a lathe
to this.
coming in there.
And that'll be eventually delivered into the mill later on. There we are.
There he goes.
So at that point, it can then
He'll trundle in.
use his rope hauler to haul the wagon in via rope hauler, put it into the engineering works, and offload the lathe into the mill itself.
Signals. Fantastic. Tell me about the signals.
We've got a member in the group, Alan Peel, and he particularly had an interest in signals. The North Eastern Railway had slotted post signals. That's where the arm is in the middle of the upright there, the red signal
in the
arm
centre of the actual
and
pillar.
that drops down into the slot. There are a lot of problems with these fouling up with snow in winter, and of course the oncoming train then couldn't really tell if the signal was at danger or at clear.
Robin, tell me about the signal box.
Well, the signal box was a later addition again to the original layout. It's based on Horsforth near Leeds, again on the North Eastern Railway. Most of our more prominent buildings on the layouts, you can remove the roofs and you can see the interior detail then. But it's fully detailed inside with a glowing coal fire. This area here is Spittlebeck Farm near Scarborough.
I mean, actually, the Pantile roof, lovely.
The Pantile roofs and the wibbly wobbly roofs, we tend to use cheap card warps, which is not something you would normally aim for in a model, but it does have its benefits in that you then get rid of the square edges and the straight roof and so on.
And then coming round to this area, now this, Jack, I have to say, this is my favourite section.
It's my favourite as well.
So tell me about all this. What have we got here?
It's a coal depot where they used to open the bottom doors of the wagons and fill the carts underneath.
And then you go trotting out under the bridge there.
And out. And a weigh bridge at the end to weigh how much coal they've took away.
Thank you so much for taking the time, both of you, to show us this layout. It's absolutely brilliant. Vinicius dad and his mates have been busy getting the fairground ready. They've got up the big wheel over there, a couple of roundabouts and a food stall. Still, there's plenty of things to unpack. You can get a surprising amount of kits actually for fairgrounds. If you can think of a ride that will throw people off and horribly mutilate them, you can probably buy a kit of it. I'll be the first to admit that it doesn't really hold up to close scrutiny, so we've popped it down there behind the station. And at a distance, it really does give a nice effect. The only thing to do now is to sit back and watch the money roll in. Signals are a very, very important thing, both on the railway and in the animal kingdom. I should know because I've misread a few in my time. And Charles is here to impart a little bit of signal wisdom. Charles, tell me about signals.
Basically two types of signals. The red signal, which is a danger signal, which allows you to either go or tells you to stop. And the yellow, which is a warning signal. This is called a distance, and you have that before you have the red one.
Okay, so if I'm in mid-train, come around the corner, I'll see that first, and that tells me, that's set against me, it warns me there's a signal coming up.
Yeah, it gives you a warning, and it's set far enough back so you can slow down and approach that one safely.
Now, what about these? Have you got ones with multiple signals on?
Yep. Well, you've got various types of signals. This one here is a gantry signal. This is a southern signal, and this is made of rails welded together. And this is what's known as an upper quadrant.
And what's an upper quadrant?
Well, basically, if you've got that as danger, which is across the board, everybody has that position as danger, and upper quadrant is there and lower quadrant is there, and that allows the train to go.
So all the different railways, the LMS, the LNER, GWR, had their own style of signals, didn't they?
Oh yeah, right the way through every area.
All right, well, let's get cracking because we need some signals, mate. So let's have a crack at building
sure.
some.
This is the one we're going to build. This is a picture of it made. This is a Great Western lower quadrant, either starter or whatever you want it to be. And these here are the components.
I'm getting nervous. It looks hellishly complicated.
Oh, it's terrible. Yeah, it's quite daunting. No, it's actually fairly straightforward if you take it easy and just work through it. This is the base, which goes onto the ground.
Okay.
And this is the post, and that's glued on.
So let's glue him in there. Let's get him in. Let's get cracking. Okay, bit
That's
of that.
fine.
There you go. Right, pop him in. Now, the next trick is getting it around the right way. That's the right way because the thing. So that's it.
Yeah, that's it.
That's where it lines up. Bingo. I love putting kids together, man.
Oh, it's good. These are quite nice to go.
Next one. Okay, popping him in. There she goes.
Now, this is quite a simple kit,
Okay.
but the complicated ones, if you take your time, can be done just as easily.
Oh, now what's this bit here for?
That's the bit that holds the crank on. It goes underneath, and
scary
that
bit.
one, that's the bit that makes the signal work. It's going to be spring loaded,
Ease in. Ease in.
and the spring clips over the bit of structure at the top. That's it. For somebody who's never done it before, you've done very well.
Thank you very much,
That's
sir.
it.
Here's our finished signal. All it needs is a little handrail around the top here just to finish it off. But what we've done is to mount it on a piece of MDF to show you how it works, because we're going to use a point motor to make this work. And there's our point motor underneath there. And because the point motor travels a bit further than the mechanism does on the signal, this little bit of slack in the chain there allows for that. So when this snatches over, it doesn't wreck all the mechanism. And you can see that when I turn it around like that, that's what happens. Flick! There you go. In the last programme, you may remember I visited a place called Peakorama, which has a large number of layouts open to the general public. Here are some of the exhibits I didn't manage to squeeze in last time. This is Ashley, and he was good enough to show me this 1950s brewery layout. The scale is 016.5, which essentially is O gauge size but using 00 width track for a narrow gauge. Ashley, this is lovely. Tell us about some of the little features you got on here.
Well, the little features like a bloke having a cigarette and
Where's he? Where's he?
he's having a crafty fag in the shed here.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Oh, isn't he?
There's another one by the broken bags.
Yeah, you've had a little bit of a bag
Yeah,
incident
the
over
bloke
there, haven't
scratching his head.
you? He's not happy with that, is he?
Nope.
He doesn't like that
But
at
then we got the guy reading the newspaper.
all. I'm intrigued. How did you make your turning head?
Turning
I
head.
love that.
Basically, the body comes as a kit with the head detached. All we did was drill a hole down through, bit of brass tube, very thin, and soldered a bit of wire to his head, poked it down through, and an AC motor at the bottom.
And it just pops up through the little packing case and up through the top.
That's right.
There's a little bloke welding.
Yep, there's getting
He's doing a bit of cutting, and he's doing a bit of cutting over there. And
bloke having his sarnies.
where's the bloke on this? Oh, he is.
Got his bike.
The governor's not happy with that, is he?
No, he's not.
He's not happy with that. He's not impressed. So now, how did you do your little the bloke with the fags? How did you
Bloke
do
with
that?
the fag, that's it's just a bit of fibre optic drilled through the back of his head and a light.
So what about the building? It's a lovely...
Well, the buildings, they're
scratch built?
scratch built again, made out of foam board. Like the
That is
stuff
a
you-
big building, isn't it?
It is. It's so foam boards like the stuff you have hanging down from supermarket ceilings, things like that. And we just put sheets of brick on the outside, but you get an A4
So they're
sheet.
impressive. They're enormous buildings, but not necessarily expensive to make.
Not really. No.
It is a stunning model. So Len, you're in charge of all the landscaping here, and this is a layout that really caught my attention. What are we looking at here, Len?
Well, it's a branch line type layout with in about the 50s, 60s era.
And how did you go about getting your canal to work so nicely?
Well, the canal is made from a Perspex riverbed, and the boat is fixed to a chain, plastic chain, which is on a motor, which goes round.
That is very clever. Now, there's other little bits and pieces. You've got working swing over there in the garden. How did you get that to work? What's the secret behind that?
Well, the motor is underneath, and the wire goes up beside the tree and along the branch, and it works in conjunction with the branch chain.
There's a bloke under there trying to get his Morris Minor to run. Or he's died, I can't tell. But his feet are poking out underneath. Perhaps he's in some sort of trouble there, I don't know. And I love the little woman. It's obviously the little kleptomaniac woman who's stealing fruit and running away without paying out of the shop with the slightly oinky leg, bless her. Now this is lovely. This is Engage. I've got a lot of Engage at home. The beauty of it is you can get a lot in a small space. Only this one is over 25 foot long. Now this is based on Collerton, this area here, which exists no longer, is now part of the Seaton tramway. And from this part, which is real, it sort of meanders down now into fantasy. This is all fantasy land through here, and it ends up here, Seaton Junction. Now Seaton Junction, if you could look out of the window, climb on top of a ladder, this is exactly how it would look now. So in real life, the trains would have headed south down towards Exeter, but we've made them loop round and they pop out here behind this part of scenery, and now we're back into the real world. This really existed. This was Seaton, but of course this unfortunately has been tarmacked over, and that's where the old tramway now runs. And then the main branch line pops out here, and there's the main line, and this is all fantasy world we're in at the moment. It's all fantasy, 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 and now we're back in the world of reality. This is Colliford, a small station that did exist, not very far from here. I love the caravan site, though. Why you'd want a holiday next to a railway station, I've absolutely no idea. Unfortunately, the station doesn't survive any longer. The only thing remaining is the Carsey, and in this model you can actually see, oh my god, there's actually someone using it. That is absolutely disgusting. Something that can really bring a model to life is the use of sound. Of course, if you get this wrong, it will drive everybody bonkers. So it's a very fine line between atmosphere, interesting effect, and let's face it, slightly dodgy gimmick. Now, one thing you've got to consider on a model like this, if you're going to use sound, is scale and perspective. Now, what do I mean by scale and perspective? I will show you. If I am here having a lovely day on our idyllic fishing village, I do not want to hear these sounds of downtown Farmerton with its noisy fair and its tram. Likewise, if I am laying on the beach having a nice sunny day, I do not want to hear a tin mine. So, what sounds can we hear that will cover this entire model? Let's have a listen, shall we? That's nice. Seagulls, we like seagulls. Seashore, waves lapping at the beach. No, not a hummingbird. Motorbikes, could be, down there. Certainly the sound of a tin mine, and maybe the fare being carried on the breeze all the way over to here. No, not a lion. You see, it's all a question of balance. Some of you might remember Peter North's wonderful American layout. Now that had digitally controlled sound from his DCC controller. That was brilliant because as you turned up the power on the locomotive, the note of the engine changed. As it pulled away, it changed again. It had sensors in the track, so as it came up to a crossing, bing, 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 bells would ring. It was absolutely brilliant. And then of course, if you go more low tech, you can come across one of these. Now, I'm sure you haven't seen one of these, but what this is a microphone, a speaker, a digital recorder rolled into one. Now, to give us some inspiration for sounds we could be using on a layout, we've come outside the workshop to the bridge over the platform at Sheffield Park here on the Bluebell Railway to have a listen to the real thing. This is what we want. We want a bit of this with the old steam coming out. A bit of whistling would be nice, and some pulling away sounds. Oh, this build up a bit of texture. Now this is nice sort of stuff. The bells are going, doors are opening, people are getting off. Little things like that, very, very nice. Lovely job, I've had a go at recording that. Let's go back to the workshop, see how it sounds. May not be good, but we can live with it. Shall we have a little listen to what my bit of train recording sounded like? Let's have a little listen here, let's have a go. Yeah, it's not really high fidelity, is it? But that's not what these are about. What these are really good at is recording things like train announcements, station announcements, that sort of thing. How do they work? Well, it's very, very simple indeed. Here's one here. You've got two buttons on each side, and you're just going to press them, and the little light comes on, and you can make your recording. The next train leaving Farmington is going to Limpton Station. Take your fingers off, press this one down here.
The next train leaving Farmington is going to Limpton Station.
It's got a lovely voice, that announcer. Now, because we're going to have this as a sort of interactive thing, so kids can come around and press buttons and stuff, we thought it would be nice if they could come and press buttons and get station announcements. So I've done a few here. Have a listen to this. This is a good one.
Come on, get on the train, you fat lump. You're holding everybody up.
Very rude, that chap. And, of course, this one's my favourite.
This is an unlawful gathering of people. If you do not disperse in the next 5 seconds, we will be forced to use water cannons. Thank you.
That's a little riot, Saturday afternoon, Farmington Athletic. Lovely, warm crowd. Always a laugh on a Saturday. Anthony Schooner MP has gone to London, and his wife Liz takes the opportunity to search for her missing lover, the archaeologist Ben Kelly. But her car breaks down right outside the Ace Cafe. Her suppressed tears and quiet dignity immediately melts the hardened hearts of the Blackjack motorcycle gang, who at the moment are doing their level best not to beat the living daylights out of the mods who are going past on their scooters. The gang agrees to help her, but whilst leaning over the bonnet of the car, Liz notices that Fast Eddie, the leader of the gang, is wearing Ben's scarf.